Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, what's happening? We're back. Fantasy time is back. I'm Zach. I got Nick with me this week.
What's up,
Nick, what's
everybody?
going on, man? How we doing?
It's been a while, dude.
Yeah, I know it's been a hot minute. Every time we're ready to go, I feel like I'm just like, all right, I'm too tired. So
Hey,
I'm glad
that's
we're back. Yeah, I know. November, December is a tough time. So I think it's good that we're back and right in time for fantasy football playoffs, right in time for when people start putting real money down.
Mhm.
End of the season, come playoff time, predictions on pretty much anything. So I'm gonna bring a little bit of that today, a little bit of fantasy football playoff talk, a little bit of some sports betting items that I wanted to go over with you, the people. So let's start off with a big item for all fantasy football owners, and that is Justin Jefferson is making his return to the football field this week. Huge for people that have him. Very, very huge. Obviously, yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like if you're in at least 3 or 4 leagues, if you're like in an average, you have them in one. I feel like that's the case with most people. So it's going to be helping some people out. Um,
Hopefully, it's gonna
Obviously,
help me out.
yeah. I mean, you're getting him back in time for the last game before playoffs. Obviously, in your league there. Which is good because you beat me not last week, the week before that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was supposed to beat you, and you just like put a shellac on me. It was ridiculous.
It was amazing to finally see because I started the season off hot and then went on a little cold streak, and now we're back on the hunt. So hope I can get that done this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, you got better. You got good chances. I'll pop open ESPN because I know that there is a percentage calculator on how what percent you're bound to make the playoffs. Let's see here. You are you have a 70% chance of making the playoffs,
Okay.
um, which means that if you win, you are in. Uh, if you would have to lose, and I don't know who's Marlboro's
It's Demetrius.
Demetrius. So
Yeah.
he would have to win, and actually he would just have to win, and you would have to lose because he actually has more points scored than you.
Oh,
So interesting matchup this week. So win and you're in. Lose, Demetrius wins, he's in. So that is the landscape of fantasy football in Nick's league. I have made the playoffs, sitting at 9-4 right now. We still have obviously 1 week left to go. But I am playing. I don't know who this is. Password is Taco
that's
Greenberg. Greenberg.
Greenberg.
So I'm playing Greenberg, who is actually sitting above me in the standings. So this is for kind of playoff seeding. He's outscored me by almost 100 points. So if I beat him, great. If I don't, I don't. It is what it is.
You're already in. It doesn't matter.
Hey, it's all about seeding. As it stands right now, I believe I will be. I think I might be playing you or someone else. I don't know. Actually, I think it changed from last week.
Let's see. I think my app might tell me.
It should give us the playoff bracket. No, I would be playing Baby Got Dak,
His team's always annoying. That's Angel.
Angel. I can't tell you how well I've done against him, but it would be nice to get a bye and not have to play next week. So if I can beat.
You need to win, and Pavel needs to lose for you to get the first rounder, I believe.
No, there's 2 first-round buys. There's 2 buys. The first
Yeah,
and the second seed.
one for each conference.
Oh, it's conference-wise.
Yeah, East. I mean, it's a East and West. I got to split it up next year. We'll do some big changes.
Oh, wait, hold on. Let me see that. Oh, I see. Okay. So I'm not getting a buy. There's no way I'll get a buy.
I mean, if he
I
loses,
could,
well, no, there's no way. Yeah.
no, because he's got way more points than me. Um, Yeah, so basically Pavel has that first round bye, and Sean is, Sean definitely has the first round bye as well. He's locked into that spot. So he got lucky. He got very lucky. He was put into that conference. So the rest of your conference is hot doo-doo trash. That's to you.
My team's not doo-doo trash. It's mid doo-doo trash.
The conference is hot doo-doo trash. I mean, just look at this, right? You have a team that is 10-3, 3 teams at 9-4, and 1 team at 2-11. Sorry, Drew. Then the best record in the Western Conference is 8-5.
Yeah.
You have 4 teams at 9-4 or above in the other conference. So I think parity wise, like having a conference is fine, but when it comes to a playoff bye, unfortunately, I'm sorry, I don't know if I met Sean. I don't remember. Did I?
I don't think I've met Sean.
Oh, you haven't even met Sean. Okay. Anyways,
it's only been by phone.
Oh, I see. Okay, well, he does not deserve the bye. I'm sorry, he just doesn't. So, but what? Oh, well, parity in the league, I guess, for conferences. So, but it'll be interesting to see. So there's that league, and then obviously, like I mentioned, Justin Jefferson coming back. A lot of teams off the bye, especially high-scoring teams like the Bills, the Ravens, are coming back off of a bye. Mm-hmm. And this is crunch time for a lot of those teams. The Ravens sitting atop the AFC North. The Bills are outside of a playoff spot for the first time in a while. And we're either going to see the Bills kind of step up and produce, obviously, with fantasy value as well. Mm-hmm. Or we're going to see a collapse. I mean, there's really no in between. I don't think that they're going to be middling. They're either going to be really good or really bad, because they have to go full throttle.
They have to. They did have no choice.
You have Josh Allen. You're going to get a lot of yards and touchdowns. You might get a lot of picks as well. You have Stephon Diggs. I'm sure he's going to produce for you. So, you got to be happy with some of those teams. Who knows how Justin Jefferson's going to do? Josh Dobbs has been named the starter again for Minnesota going into Week 14. So, having Justin Jefferson back is a blessing, but
it's huge.
It doesn't really mean anything if, he's coming back and they're probably they may have him on load management. We don't know. They haven't made that very apparent. No. So we'll see. We'll see. So yeah, your league is shaping up to be very interesting going into the last week before playoffs. And then the other league that we always, we try and talk about is the Sanity Check League, the insane scoring, all of that good stuff. So we are in fact in the playoffs for Sanity Check. We are in fact in the playoffs. We are on round 1. And basically what this constitutes is we have 2 weeks of play. So round 1 is 2 weeks full. So anything can really happen. Nick, you unfortunately were the last place team in regular season, sitting at, I believe, 5-7, I think. No, sorry, you sat at 4-9 for this league.
Wrong league.
Drew was 6-7. What's up?
Wrong league, but 4-9. Fucking hell.
Yeah, 4-9. That's tough. But again, that's the thing, right? There's so many players, and you just kind of forget about it sometimes. I was in last place for a while, and I made a really good run back in that league. But Drew's sitting at 6-7. James and I are tied at 8-5, but he has, I believe, scored more points than me. Therefore, winning that tiebreaker. So very interesting. I think let's see how many points. Yeah, James's team scored. Let's see, like 600-700 points more than the next closest team, which was Drew. So yeah, so very, very interesting matchups. Lots of players to talk about in those. I have to start Geno Smith, which I'm not thrilled about against San Francisco.
I wouldn't be. Jesus.
I mean, I could start Josh Dobbs if I wanted to, but I don't know. I guess, maybe I should do that, seeing as though Yeah, probably. I'm probably gonna do that, honestly. But I got Josh Allen back, which is really nice. My wide receivers are looking great with Devontae, Jalen Waddle, Keenan Allen, CeeDee Lamb, DK Metcalf, and again, 4 teams in this league, people. 4 teams, so take that with a grain of salt. Um, you know, uh, it's tough. I don't want to do this, but I might have to start Geno Smith actually because I don't want to start Bryce Young at all. I don't want to touch him.
Dude, that kid's hot garbage, man.
He's not as good as I thought he was going to be, honestly. Really, really not. I mean, to be completely fair, I was giving him a lot more credit due to the fact that he was like almost like a sub Drew Brees prototype. He's that stature, that height, a little more mobility. Obviously, not a prototypical like a pocket passer that Brees was, but I really think the athleticism and the change in athleticism in the league has really hurt him. Coming into the league and seeing, oh crap, everyone can get to me. My offensive line isn't great. I have some weapons, I guess, but I don't have the weapons that I need. He makes plays, he makes throws, but he's just not. I mean, he's not anything like CJ. CJ Stroud coming into the league thought was going to be a bust and has been anything since. So kudos to him. Obviously, we're both in the doghouse. We have that punishment that's going to be doled out to us by James at some point. I think it's safe to say we could probably spin for it now because CJ Stroud is most likely going to win Rookie of the Year. Regardless of position, he has been the best rookie this season so far. Him and Tank Dell.
Poor Tank.
Bad news for fantasy owners. If you've been streaming Tank Dell, which you should have been, he is now on the IR. So I believe he has a broken fibula now, which is sad. Kid was going places.
Yeah, he was. So, he was going to hit 1,000 yards this year.
Yeah, yeah, he was. He for sure was. I think he had 7 touchdowns already on the season. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. Austin. Yeah, haha, funny. Thank you. I know I look so goofy. Wearing the wrong hat for a fantasy football podcast. Yeah, so let's talk about the playoffs then. Let's talk about playoffs. Who we think is going to make an impact for teams moving in the playoffs. Just based off what we've seen the last couple of weeks. Obviously, it's been a little bit since we've done a podcast and talked about all the fantasy outlook for the season. And now that we're pretty much at the end, who do you see as your league winner or a couple of league winners moving forward into these playoffs? Because there are a few out there that may surprise you.
So I think there's a few players, but for me, personally, he's carried my team throughout this whole season, and I think he's going to continue to do that into the fantasy football playoffs. But Mike Evans has been Mr. Reliable this season. He's hit another 1,000 yards. He's got 8 touchdowns. 8 touchdowns? Between 8 and 10 touchdowns. I don't remember. But for me, he's my number one guy. If you have him, you're lucky. And hopefully he continues to do this the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, they got a couple of interesting games coming up. 5 games left. The next 2 or 3, depending on, when your playoffs are starting. They have the Falcons, the Packers, and then the Jaguars. So tough matchups, secondary-wise, really. A.J. Terrell and then Jair Alexander, back-to-back weeks for Mike Evans. It might be a tough one. I'd be very careful, with how you utilize him. I mean, he is Mr. Reliable. Don't get me wrong. He's produced going to produce another 1,000-yard season, and which would be his 10th in a row, which is ridiculous, unprecedented. So I would be very careful with those matchups, Falcons and Packers. And honestly, with how the Bucs have been playing, they've been very inconsistent. They haven't been scoring a lot of points. So, it's gonna be tough for Mike Evans if the Falcons and the Packers game plan involved just trying to shut him down, which it seems like other teams have been trying to do, but
no success.
Bucks only beat the Panthers by 3 points, and then they beat the Titans. Now that's maybe their most impressive wins, honestly. They already lost to the Falcons once this year by 3 points.
That division is
trash.
Yeah.
Like really bad. The most points they've scored is 37 against the Texans, but they ended up losing that game anyways. So, yeah, I don't know. The Falcons and the Packers, those are tough matchups. And then you play the Jags. I don't know. Mike Evans might be a tough play with some good secondaries coming up.
Trust.
Listen. I trust the man. I do not trust the matchups. I trust the man, but the matchups aren't great. You're playing two arguably top 5 corners if you're Mike Evans. So again, it depends on how they game plan and how they scheme the games. If they're playing a lot of man on man, then we're gonna see Jair and AJ Terrell on Mike Evans a lot, and that's not good for fantasy owners. It's really not. So
that's the logical.
We'll see. But again, Mike Evans, generally a league winner, generally a good go-to guy for the playoffs. But with the Falcons and the Packers coming up, and possibly the Jaguars again, if you are playing fantasy playoffs into Christmas and after Christmas, he has the Falcons, the Packers, so AJ Terrell, Jair Alexander. Don't quote me on, I don't know the Jaguar secondary very well, but I know it's been very good this year. And then Marshawn Lattimore against the Saints. So 3 out of 4 I can name their starting cornerback, and 3 out of 4 of them are very, very good. And the Jaguars do have a very good defense as well. So it'll be a tough matchup for Mike Evans going into fantasy football playoffs, but trust the process with Mike Evans. If you have a gut feeling and you put him in, he probably will do well. Probably. I never trust my gut, to be completely fair. I say I do, but I never do. So just based off of matchups, I would either flex him and make him a game time decision. It really depends. I mean, he is Baker's go-to target. He's been every quarterback's go-to person on that team since he was drafted.
Yep. I think he's had like 7 or 8 different quarterbacks in his 10 years of play.
Yeah, he will hit another 1,000-yard season. So what's that?
He's already done it this year.
Oh, he already did. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I thought he hadn't hit it yet. I thought Keenan Allen was the only guy that hit it. I'm sorry. No, it wasn't yards. Keenan Allen already hit 100 receptions. That's what I was thinking of.
Yes.
Great. Okay. Any other players that you want to talk about that could potentially be playoff winners for teams out there? I have my 3.
Go ahead. Ramble some off.
Okay. Moving into running backs. So it's crunch time for a lot of teams. There are a few teams that need to play better than they have been recently, the Bills being one.
Mm-hmm.
James Cook. Put James Cook in. If you don't already have him starting, which should be, James Cook is going to be a league winner for you. Coming off a bye, they need to make the playoffs. They don't need to make the playoffs, but the Bills want to make the playoffs. I'm sure, the AFC East division champs for the last 3 years don't want to let Miami run away with the division. They want to make the playoffs. It's a very stacked field this year. There are tons and tons of AFC teams that are in the mix this year with, honestly, the Broncos, the Steelers, the Browns, even the Bengals now at 6-6, the Colts, the Texans. So there are a ton of teams vying for those wild card spots. And James Cook is a guy that they're going to have to rely to. If Josh Allen wants to protect the ball, we're going to see a lot of James Cook receptions, a lot of short dumps, all that kind of stuff to James Cook. So James Cook, league winner, fantasy football, playoff time hero for people. Put him in. And just to further my point here, the Chiefs have very tough matchups in the next 2 weeks with the Chiefs and the Cowboys, right? If you are in the final week of fantasy football, if you're already in playoffs, it might be a little bit harder of a matchup. You're playing the Bills, you're playing the Chiefs, then the Cowboys on back-to-back Sundays at 4:25. But hold out hope, because the week after you play the Chargers. If you are in primetime fantasy football and you are playing the Chargers, James Cook, put him in. Make sure he's in your lineup, because he will eat against a Chargers defense that is extremely, extremely porous. So a very good matchup for people, for any Bills players, is against that Chargers defense. And, if they win one of the next 2 games, or miraculously win the next 2 games, that third game, that game against the Chargers, is going to be even more of a point to just rack up the points. And James Cook will be a guy I think that they're going to lean on in the next 3 to 4 games down the stretch here. So tough matchups for the Bills, again, fantasy-wise, and the Chiefs and the Cowboys, 2 of the best, or maybe the 2 best defenses in the league. Obviously, San Francisco's there, but
yeah.
So going to be a really tough matchup for any Bills players slotted in for these playoffs. But James Cook is a guy that they need to lean on. Josh Allen should lean on. And I think that's gonna boost his fantasy production come playoff time. So James Cook, my guy there moving forward. That was my running back. Who else do you got?
So I'm gonna stick with the running back. Let's see. This player makes his team look way better than they actually are. The Los Angeles Rams play better when Kyren Williams is on the field. Again, I've personally had him this year. Anytime he's had 2 games under 10 since the season started. And I think going into the playoffs, he's hungry. He wants to try and send his team into the regular football playoffs. So I think he's going to be a league winner. His next 5 teams he plays this week, it's Baltimore, but after that he's got Washington, New Orleans, the Giants, and the Niners. So during the fantasy football playoff run, he's going to probably face Washington, New Orleans, and New York, and all 3 of those teams aren't very good, especially during the with the rush. So I'm gonna go Kyren Williams.
Yeah, not a bad selection. He's been very, very good. A stark contrast to Cam Akers, apparently. Just wild, absolutely wild. So, let's see. Oh man, there's a lot of good names out there, and really, fantasy comes down to matchups for the most part.
It really
at
does.
least in my opinion. So it's really about finding the people and the players with the best matchups that you can possibly find. So I am looking at I don't know. I'm looking at the Dolphins the next 2 games. They play the Titans and then the Jets. So I mean, really, any Dolphins player that you have is going to be good.
Literally anyone. The whole offense.
The entire offense is going to be fine. Like I said, they play the Titans and they play the Jets. I would suspect, obviously having Tyreek Hill is great. He is a league winner no matter what. That is a point that we can hammer into the ground until we're dead.
That's a freebie.
That's a freebie. I mean, obviously, Keenan Allen has been arguably the best wide receiver in the league this year. He has had a couple of down games this season, but but really, really has been putting it on as of late. Didn't have a great game last week, but the Chargers only scored 6 points, so it's really not on him. They play the Broncos and then the Raiders. So, he's going to have a tough matchup against Patrick Surtain this week against the Broncos, and then plays the Raiders. So, I mean, I don't want to say this because I know that the Chargers are not a very good team. Yes, they won last week, but that was a miserable performance all around. But I mean, if you want someone that's going to outperform their expectations in a week-to-week basis, it's going to be Keenan Allen. He is Justin Herbert's pound-for-pound go-to guy. He can't trust Quentin Johnston. That dude has been a drop every time he is on the field. So you need to be playing Keenan Allen on a week-to-week basis anyways, but I think that he in the next 2 weeks is going to pop off again. He's going to win the he's going to win the fantasy football playoffs for some people. So yeah, Keenan Allen for sure. I guess I don't know why I feel like we're like looking for like sleepers, but what we're really saying is like which players are going to win people the fantasy football playoffs. You have Keenan Allen, you have Devontae. You have Tyreek Hill. They're going to win you fantasy football playoffs in the next 2 weeks with the teams that they're playing. And I don't want to say it because I know I'm going to go, oh, well, you've said this so many times, blah, 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 blah. The Lions play the Bears, and then the Lions play the Broncos. So they had a tough time against the Bears a couple weeks ago. Made a comeback, played a great game at the end there. And the Broncos vying for a playoff spot. They've had an uncharacteristically good stretch, and just falling short to the Texans last week. So I think that they're going to find themselves coming down a bit, especially run defense wise. So give me Jahmyr Gibbs as a league winner for these next 2 weeks against Chicago, and then at home against Denver. The Lions are going to be looking to secure the division, which they probably kind of have already, maybe.
Depends on the Packers, but I don't see it.
Yeah, it does depend on the Packers, I guess. But, they're at 9-3. The two other teams, Vikings and Packers, are sitting at 6-6. So it's going to take a miracle for either of those teams to come through. And the Lions haven't played the Vikings yet. So that's the big caveat. That is the big caveat. The Vikings and the Lions do play twice. So that could be good for the Packers, or it could be really good for the Vikings, or it could be really good for the Lions. Obviously depending on all outcomes. The Lions beat the Vikings twice and game over. If the Vikings end up beating the Lions twice, then that might be good for the Packers. Especially if, the Vikings have a tough schedule the next 5 weeks. So, yeah, but against the Bears, against the Broncos, I think Jahmyr Gibbs will be a really good piece for you to have if you do have him and come up for playoff time. So,
I think probably it's kind of like on the Dolphins point that you made. I wouldn't be mad if I had any of the Lions offense. I mean, barring Jared Goff, but Amon-Ra St. Brown,
Fantasy Jared Goff has been fine. He's been like a little above middle of the road for the entire season. I've had him. He's QB number 12 in fantasy. I mean, really, can you ask for anything else from a guy that is a systematic, like, okay quarterback? He's put on some good performances. The last 3 weeks, he's been above 20 points in standard PPR. If he is out there for teams, if he's out on the waiver wire, which he could be, sometimes people just don't, pay attention. If he's out there, scoop him up, definitely, especially some good matchups against the Bears, the Broncos, then the Vikings. If he's out there, scoop him up. He should be on someone's team as QB number 12. I mean, at least if he's sitting on him as a backup, fine, but if not, then he should be rostered at this point. The only matchup he really struggled in was against the Ravens. But he had back-to-back weeks scoring 25 plus against Carolina and Tampa Bay, which obviously bad teams, but put up 25 against the Chargers. He put up 20 last time against the Bears. Put up 22 against the Packers, 20 against the Saints, who have a pretty decent defense. So, he's putting up numbers against teams he should be putting up numbers against. So, I wouldn't necessarily count him out.
Okay.
Any other league fantasy football playoff winners that we need to talk about before we kind of switch over to some other stuff here tonight?
So, I mean, I don't think we need to talk about it, but I want to mention his name. If you got Christian McCaffrey, power to you. You've been killing it.
Well, that's the thing. If you made it to the playoffs with Christian McCaffrey, good job. You built your team correct. Because generally people that have Christian McCaffrey never build their team the right way. And I feel like every time I've seen Christian McCaffrey, he's never, like, in my fantasy setting, he's never made it to the playoffs. And a team that has had him has never won. At least in my experience.
Yeah.
I have McCaffrey in your league.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
I'm very excited because I got a good running back room. I need the wide receivers to pan out. So
we got I think a week or two before trade deadline. I'll trade for McCaffrey if you need a receiver.
What is the trade deadline in your league?
I think the 13th. I think. Or the 8th.
December 13th?
Yeah.
Holy shit, that's a late ass deadline. Damn, okay. Well, yeah, I've been trying to get people to send me trades and no one's fucking biting. So
stingy ass bastards in this league.
But that's the thing, like, why are we being stingy? Why are you holding on to players that you're only going to end up losing in 4 weeks anyways, except for maybe one of them? Like, there's only one player on your team that you're most likely going to keep. So what's the problem? Like, why can we not trade? I like trading. I love to trade. Ask Drew. I think in the last, like, 5 years of us playing in another dynasty, we've at least traded like twice a year, if not more.
Yeah. Dude, I think last year in my league, I must have made close to 4 or 5 trades.
It's
this year, I
fun.
think I made 2. It's fun.
A wonderful transaction.
And it's part of the game. Like, you talk shit, right. You explain yourself, and move on. If you're dead.
Speaking of trades, there was a big trade that I made, a 3-team trade. If I can pull it up, I will show you. Transactions. Where is it? No, not this one. 3-team trade. In my dynasty league here, I sent out Jalen Hurts, Kenneth Walker, and Curtis Samuel. My friend got Kenneth Walker, and he sent me a 1st and a 2nd round rookie pick.
Okay.
For next year.
Mm-hmm.
Drew got Curtis Samuel and Jalen Hurts, and then sent me Sam Howell, a 1st round, and Christian Kirk.
Not bad.
So overall, and we can talk about strategy too, because this league I may end up with the 1st overall pick, which I will be taking Marvin Harrison Jr. No doubt in my mind. So I have 4 first round picks this coming season, this coming draft. And the rule in our league is you can't have over 2 of the same round pick.
Okay.
So I'm potentially sitting on 2 key pieces of my team that I have yet to trade for, with first overall picks, or if I want to trade 2 of them, to get maybe a higher value player or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a really good offseason I'm looking forward to in this league. I'm most likely to have to take a punishment, which I think is really funny because we've been in this league for about 5 or 6 years, I think. And I've only ever seen one person do a punishment in 6 years. But because I am last place, they are adamant about doing a punishment now, which is hilarious. Hilarious. Last year, I ran the punishment committee. I tried to get people to do punishments, and everyone just balked. So if they try to get me to do a punishment, I'm just going to tell them to kick rocks. Like, I'm going to tell them to kick rocks. They can suck a fat one. So it'll be really funny because then they're, oh, you lose your 1st round. All right, fine, take my 1st round pick. I got 3 more. Have fun. Like, so it's gonna be really interesting putting up with that commissioner because he is a dodo bird.
That's always
love
fun.
You, Cam, if you're out there, but you should have never. Anyways, but like I mentioned, a big trade to kind of shake up the standings in the league. In that league specifically, and they're fun. I mean, you kind of see what people value and I got Christian Kirk at good value, and obviously now he's hurt, so it doesn't matter. But I wasn't planning to use him anyways this year. It's more of a next year kind of thing. So I still got good value out of the trade. I got 2 first-round picks from it, so I'm chilling. I'm dealing with it. I love it. I'm getting Marvin Harrison Jr. and possibly a Drake May or a Caleb Williams, wherever they land up and end up if Caleb Williams even wants to go to the team that might draft him, the Chicago Bears.
I don't know. I really don't know. The Bears are a confusing team to me.
Bears are a confusing team, and I guess fantasy-wise in the future, who is really going to want to play for them if they just continue this carousel of management and quarterbacks and just players in general?
If I was the Chicago Bears, I would sign Justin Fields to a short-term contract, draft Marvin Harrison Jr., and go get a real running back. None of the secondary shit they have going on now. And we'll just see what happens. I don't truly know how good the offensive line is, but if they need to make changes there or add, go for it. But they need to ramp up that offense. It's just not good. It's not a good system for him to play in. He can't do the running, he can't do the passing and catching. So
right. I mean, he has shown that he can be a legitimate quarterback in the league. But I think with what we're seeing, and this is a complete tangent off of anything fantasy or whatever, but we have our opinions, so we're just gonna blurt them out. I feel like you're getting quarterbacks that are not complete quarterbacks. You're getting them, and they're you're trying to build up confidence, but teams are just not able to build up quarterbacks like they used to anymore. I mean, not to use this guy as an example, but look at Mac Jones. I mean, rookie year he looked good. He didn't look like he was the next guy, but he looked good. He looked serviceable. He made smart decisions. Next year comes, they play okay. He gets hurt. They have no offensive coordinator. All this stuff, So I think systems. We should really be looking at systems and teams and management. For the failures of some of their quarterbacks. We can't just be blaming every single person that comes out of college for not being able to produce when, the systems that are in place sometimes just need to be changed. I mean, the Bears haven't been a good team in a long time. They had that one weird 13-3 season, a couple like 2015 or whatever. Yeah, they were 13-3 in 2017 or 16 maybe. Hold on. Yeah, hold on. I'll get it for you. Sorry, 12-4, 2018.
Okay.
They were 12-4. Yeah, I remember because their defense was ridiculous.
They did have I remember. Was Trubisky's year, right?
That was, I think one of the Trubisky years, but they had that was when Khalil Mack was still
Khalil Mack,
that kind of Khalil Mack. He's been really good this year, by the way.
Yeah.
With the Chargers. Obviously the Chargers defense is porous, but they've had a really good season too. So but that's kind of it for me for fantasy. I mean, obviously, stick with who you got. If you have a guy like Tyreek Hill, he's going to win you the playoffs. You have a guy like Christian McCaffrey, he's going to win you the playoffs. You got them both. I don't know who you're drafting with, but
good for you.
Good for you.
Good for you.
Yeah, really, really good for you, honestly. Collusion maybe, but as far as our sports betting segment goes, I did want to talk a little bit about that. We are getting near and dear to the heart of every sports betting person in America, and that is playoff time. We are week 14. We got 4 more weeks of football after this one. We have betting odds on games, series, MVP odds, everything like that. So I did want to pull up some odds and just kind of talk to you guys quickly about that. Because we have some controversy atop the MVP betting odds. So, a lot of people right now have Dak Prescott as their MVP. However, Vegas has Brock Purdy as their MVP. So a little controversy going on atop the charts there. Jalen Hurts rounding out third place pretty strongly. And then it kind of moves down, the list there. So I think the biggest thing is, Dak Prescott and Brock Purdy are kind of tied atop each one of these kind of rankings here. But Brock Purdy, can you really sit there and say Brock Purdy is MVP worthy? Can you really? Over a guy like, and again, Dak Prescott. Can we ever really say he's the league MVP?
No. Truth, you want my opinion on who the MVP should be?
We're gonna talk about this. We're gonna talk about this on Garbage Time too. Okay, so don't go off. But I just want to point out, like, the betting odds for a lot of these people, like a lot of these players, are ridiculous. They're crazy. So, but say what you want to say. But
I don't know how to say without going off.
We're gonna go off on Garbage Time. Don't worry.
I'll save it. I'm gonna save it.
Okay. Well, anyway, so I think and again, it's so hard, especially when you're putting money down in an off year for quarterback play, where you have guys like Brock Purdy and Dak Prescott this far into the season in the conversation. Jalen Hurts, I would say, out of the three of them, if play continues, Jalen Hurts will win the MVP award.
Yes.
Brock Purdy, kudos to the guy. He's playing very well. Look at all of the weapons that he has. Look at the offensive line that he has. And you could say the same thing for Jalen Hurts. But we know what Jalen Hurts is. We know what he can do. We also know what Brock Purdy can do. And then it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. So it just, dink and dunk here. I guess, whatever. Hey, it won Tom Brady the award 3 times. Unanimously one time, but that was a completely different story. So it's really about the eye test when it comes down to it. Obviously, MVP, unfortunately, is going to be a quarterback award. It always is. This year, however, they need to make an exception. We are going to get into this in Garbage Time, so I don't want to say anything yet, but it's really, really hard as a as a betting party to want to put money down on any of these odds here. I mean, you have 4 games left. A guy like Patrick Mahomes, a guy like Tua, a guy like Lamar, are they going to be able to do anything in the next 4 weeks to say, hey, I am the MVP. I have been the MVP all season. Patrick hasn't looked the same. I don't think they're going to give it to him this year. Maybe a guy like Tua, if he really pops off, I mean, he's been playing very well this year. You could give it to him. Lamar hasn't done enough for me in my eyes. And that being said, again, Dak Prescott, sure, he's got good stats, but he hasn't been my league MVP.
No.
And neither has Brock Purdy.
If I'm picking between Dak, Purdy, or Jalen Hurts, as you said, it's got to be Jalen Hurts.
For me, it's Jalen Hurts. Again, this is out of the 3 of those choices. Yes. I'm sorry, Cowboys fans.
Fuck Cowboys fans.
Good stats. Fine. Cool. Awesome. The team is 9-3 now, or 9-4 maybe.
One of the 2.
9-3. I think it's week 14, so he's 9-3. So great. Awesome. I can't really say that he's been the league MVP. I mean, I would give it to him. I would give it to CeeDee Lamb over him, honestly, on his own team.
I don't know.
CeeDee Lamb has been a monster this year. Monster. But we'll get into that. But again, the betting odds for league MVP right now, a lot of places have Dak Prescott, Brock Purdy tied at like plus 300, give or take. FanDuel, BetMGM, they're both sitting tied for plus 300. And then Jalen Hurts is a little below that at like plus 350, plus 400. Again, depending on where you're putting these bets in, odds are going to be different. But That's kind of a consensus bet. But overall, if we're looking at all of the odds combined, averaged out, Brock Purdy is the favorite to win MVP right now. So I'm going to let that one sit with you people, because I would even argue that San Francisco fans don't think he's their team MVP. I know who they would think is their team MVP. I think we all know who their team MVP is. So it's one of those weird years where there's not a consensus MVP because the quarterback play hasn't been up to par. It's been good. It's been all right. But I mean, and again, I don't want to put this out there because and then I'll get attached to this take. But I mean, Tom Brady was kind of right.
100% he was right.
He was right when he said that quarterback play has been so subpar for the last couple of years. And again, Patrick Mahomes is an anomaly. He is an anomaly. He has been amazing. But like, I don't know. You got like 2 or 3 really, really good guys. And then it's really up and down. I mean, like I mentioned before, and I'm sure like he mentioned too, like the height of Brady and would say like 2011, 12, 13, like right in that era. I mean, you can name 10, 15 guys off the top of your head that were good quarterbacks, right? Yeah. I mean, Roethlisberger, Eli, Peyton, Brady, Breeze, Rodgers. We started getting into, what's that?
Matt Ryan at the time.
Matt Ryan, Matthew Stafford. Yep. We started getting into guys like Russell Wilson in his prime years, and that, like, those are 9 guys that, again, most of them have won a Super Bowl. Most of them have a Super Bowl or 2 or 3, under their belt, and have won some sort of quarterback award. What do we have now?
It's not the same.
You know what I mean? What do we have now? We have a couple of guys that are really good. We have one that is elite and might go down as the best quarterback of all time if he can stay healthy and he can remain on the same team. Because if he is moving around, he might not have that same opportunity. But like, I don't know, like, you have guys that are putting up stats, great, but the play, the eye test, the feel is not the same. You're just not getting the same product. And I think it really reflects in, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have 6 guys that have under 1,000 odds to win the MVP, and that's just because that the product is kind of muddled. It's all whatever. There's so many different styles on how to play quarterback now. There's not the same, and that's good, and that's a good thing. But
they just haven't hit their stride with it yet. I think maybe in like 5 to 10 years, the league's going to change. It always does. But in 5 years, that will hit a more consistent basis with the quarterback play. That's the hope.
Yeah. No, it really is. It's just very interesting to kind of see, the kind of talent that quarterback is producing in college and what's coming into the league. And I feel like we haven't seen good talent come into the league as far as quarterback play in the last 5 or 6 years. I mean, we had Patrick Mahomes, but Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, they've been good. They're their franchise quarterbacks, but they've had their own issues. I mean, Justin Herbert has been inconsistent. His team can't win. He can't put up numbers when he needs to. He can't put the game away. Josh Allen is a turnover machine. I mean, it like modern day Peyton Manning, modern day Brett Favre. They throw a bunch of touchdowns, cool, but they're turning the ball over. He can't get over that hump. I think the big thing is that we're not seeing winners. That's the biggest change, and I think that maybe what Brady was alluding to is you have guys that can play quarterback, sure, but can they go out and win? Can they go out and win you games when you need them? And honestly, the only guy that can do that is Patrick Mahomes. That's it. I'm sorry.
There's just nothing away around it. It's been Patrick Mahomes.
There's no parity anymore. There's one guy that you can say without a doubt, if he is on the field 9 times out of 10, with 2 minutes left, you get the 2-minute drive, the classic scenario, he will win you that football game. And even he hasn't been able to do that this year. He hasn't been the same, And again, Chiefs have a winning record at 8-4, fantastic, but it's not the same. You can tell something is different with him this year. And obviously lack of weapons is a huge thing for that team, but it's not the same.
No.
So again, betting odds for MVP, as our rant tells you, just don't do it. If you have a good inkling, or maybe you have an inside, then definitely put something down. But I would honestly rather give it to Deron Bland than any of these quarterbacks. Kid has 6 pick sixes in his rookie season. That's unheard of. So give it to him. I mean, at some point, we're going to have to say, hey, it's not a quarterback award. Someone else is going to have to win this. So we'll see.
All right, I'm going to say it, but we'll go in depth about it in garbage time. My pick for MVP this year, it's CJ Stroud. I know he's a rookie. I know. But it's him. He's the guy.
I would give it to him, honestly.
Look at his touchdown to interception ratio.
Ooh.
Number 1 in passing yards, and he took a franchise that was what 3-14 last year, and now they're in the wild card. That's an MVP.
Let's not forget though that they knocked last year's draft out of the park. They did. Him, Will Anderson, Tank Dell. I mean, just those 3 names alone have pulled them out of the gutter. Nico Collins has been a fucking slam dunk for them too, which again, he was already on the team, but he's been great. And they got some pieces too. So the Texans did a very good job in the offseason, especially with that draft. I wouldn't hate seeing if CJ Stroud can play well and get the Texans into the playoffs. I wouldn't be mad if he won it. I really wouldn't.
No.
Obviously I didn't want him to win our bet because I don't want to deal with punishment. But now that Anthony Richardson's out for the season, or has been for the last 6 weeks, and Bryce Young is literally dog shit, it doesn't matter at this point. Now I'm rooting for him. I want him to do well. And if that's the case, then he'll probably start sucking because everything I say, the opposite happens. So, oh boy. Well, let's see. I'm opening up my odds here, just to see for next week, because we have some funny stats to go over. First and foremost, we have a couple of games that the over-under is set at 30.5, which is the lowest in PFF or sports betting history. 2 of those being the Browns and the Jaguars, and the Patriots and the Steelers. Some of them have 30.5. It looks like the Browns, Jaguars, all of these places have them sitting at over under 30.5. We have a mix of 30, over under 30, and over under 30.5 for Patriots Steelers. If it's anything like last week, I would set the over under at 7.
Sorry about that.
Did you answer?
No, continue.
I didn't think so. I mean, so 2 games that are set over under.
Jesus Christ.
Hour.
Sorry.
It's fine. You're good. I'm just messing with you. Yeah, I mean, so 30 or 30.5 as an over under. I'm extremely comfortable picking the under for the Patriots Steelers game. I think that pretty much anyone with a pulse should lock that in. There's no way that either of these teams are going to be able to score over 20 points, let alone 15. I don't think the Patriots are even going to score a touchdown. They couldn't score against the Chargers defense. How are they going to do anything against the Steelers?
No.
They don't have Ramonte. They don't have Demario Davis. Under 30, under 30.5, under 25. If you want an alternate line, push it down as far as you're comfortable with to get those odds up. You will be fine. I mean, seriously, you will. The Steelers are in the playoff push, so they're gonna want to win. They're gonna try and put up points. They played a lot better since they fired Matt Canada, which I don't think is a surprise to anyone because he's a bum. And if you follow his Twitter account, all he does is post offensive tackle drills. It's really fucking weird. Matt Canada, he was the offensive coordinator for the Steelers until he got fired. Like,
yeah. I'm saying, does he really just? That's all he posts?
Yeah, no, seriously. Like, it's cool because it's he posts film, but before he got hired on, that's what he used to do. I followed him on Twitter before he signed on to be the Steelers offensive coordinator. Yeah. And it was all offensive line stuff, like pulls and blocks and things of that nature. So, I want to look at my other lines here. Over under. So very interesting. The 49ers Seahawks, they're giving that 46.5 after the 49ers absolutely blew out the doors off of the Eagles last week. I would definitely push the under on that. I don't necessarily think that the 49ers are going to win by that large of a margin than they did last week, especially with a divisional matchup. So I'd be very careful if I were you betting on that. Mm-hmm. Bills and Chiefs is 48.5. Eagles Cowboys is 52. And then your other highest is 46.5 with the Dolphins and the Titans. I think your Eagles and Cowboys sitting at 52. Again, divisional matchup. I think the last time they played, they scored a lot of points, so they're definitely basing it off of that. I could foresee this being a slugfest defensively, especially where the Eagles gave up so many points last week to a very, very good 49ers team. So I don't think that they're gonna give up as many points as they did last week, especially nowhere near 47 or whatever they gave up. I think 49 maybe. And then your Giants play the Packers Monday night. Over under is 36. How do you feel about that?
Go Giants.
Nice cop out. Just to give you a little confidence, they're only a 6.5 point underdog at home.
We could do it. I'm not afraid of the Packers.
I wouldn't be, honestly. I mean, they played a hell of a game last week against the Chiefs, but I feel like the Packers are a weird team where they play up to teams and play down to teams. You know what I mean? So they'll definitely play down. Tommy DeVito will give them a little bit of that 1-2 gabagoo, and it is on brand for a team that plays in
Jersey.
It is on brand. I kind of like it. It gives me like Nick Foles, like dick swinging vibes. To be honest. Yeah. So let's. I think that's really it. Some other lines to take a look at: Bills, Chiefs. Chiefs are a 1.5 point favorite. Cowboys sitting at a 3.5 point favorite at home. The Dolphins are a 13 point favorite against the Titans. Very big 10.5 point dog in the Seahawks this week against the Niners. Colts and Bengals, that's an interesting one. The Bengals are an underdog, only a 1 point underdog, but an underdog nonetheless at home against the Colts. And then that's really it. I feel like every other team makes sense. The only one that's a little iffy is the Jags and the Browns. The Browns are a 3 point favorite at home. The Jaguars have a good enough team where they could possibly beat the Browns if they have an off week, but who knows? I also don't understand the Patriots only being a 6 point underdog. They should be like at least a 10 point underdog, but I guess because neither of them score any points, it just automatically reverts to that. So, but yeah, pretty much a lot of these games, just bet the under and you'll be fine. If you want to bet the under, bet on the Patriots Steelers, bet on the Jaguars Browns, bet on the Texans Jets. Maybe that's about it. Touch anything else? Maybe the Chargers Broncos. Maybe if the Chargers don't play well, but other than that, we do have good matchups this week. We do have very, very good matchups. A lot of divisional matchups too.
I hope it's good
yeah.
football.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. A lot of the good games are in the later slot. Seahawks, 49ers. Broncos, Chargers should be a good one. I feel like the Chargers and the Broncos always have good games. Bills, Chiefs, Eagles, Cowboys, and then Packers, Giants, Monday Night Football. I feel like they always play decent against each other. So
we can hope.
Yes, we certainly can hope. But that's gonna do it for us. I mean, we got another show to run to. So if you, all 0 of you that love and watch us, follow us over to Garbage Time. We're gonna be starting up in the next 5 minutes. Nick, you have any last words that you want to get in before we head on over?
No, I'm gonna save it all for Garbage Time. It's
gonna be fun. Yes, well, everyone, good luck in your fantasy football playoffs this week.
Yes.
Remember to check your lineups. Please don't sit.
Don't be that guy.
Don't
or girl.
Don't be stupid. Just check your lineups. Make sure the people that you need are in. And if you have to do punishments, I think we'll take a break for 2 weeks, let the playoffs go, and then we'll talk about rookie drafts and fantasy punishments. I think that's our next big topic.
Okay.
The best fantasy punishments, the worst horror stories, all that kind of stuff. So,
cool.
All right, well, we'll see you over at Garbage Time, people, and stay soggy.
Go Big Blue.
We gotta get you a better slogan.
Nope, till I die, my friend, till I die.
Well, that might not be long.